how do we get people in the door? Not because we want a full worship center. That's not what it's about. But you want as many people as possible to hear the message that's going to be presented. And yeah, we're going to have some fun Christmas stuff, but when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, it's going to present the gospel through powerful message, through powerful music. And our hope and my prayer is specifically that there will be people who are unchurched, who have never heard the gospel, come in and hear the unashamed gospel of Christ presented through the Christmas story in the way that we know it can.
And welcome once again to another edition of Footnotes. Pastor Mark here, and today I'm joined in the studio with the Grossbusters. Hey guys, who are you going to call when you need a play? The Grossbusters. So my question is, there's only two of you, and there's technically four Ghostbusters. So which would you two be?
Is it bad that I don't even know the names of them?
Ah, okay.
I don't either. I'm pop culture.
Right.
I am pop culture ignorant.
So would you be Bill Murray?
Yes, I would be the
you're
Bill Murray. 'Cause it's all
and then
talk.
you would be Eon Spankler or whatever his name is.
The one that makes it happen.
Makes it happen.
Okay.
And I guess I would be the receptionist, the secretary, the little woman that was on Designing Women. She was in Ghostbusters.
She's the grandmother in Young Sheldon.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's who that is. Okay.
Meemaw.
I don't know. I've only seen the Young Sheldon like once or twice. But anyway, welcome to the show, Grosses, and I'm with David and Michael. They are here today to talk about Fruitful Festivities that are happening at Broadway. So at Broadway, we have a process called A to F. We challenge our members to walk through that. And the very final part of the process, the letter F, is fruitfulness. We want our people to be fruitful. We want them to use their gifts. And we see that in so many different ways, whether it's people going to the nursing home and preaching on Sunday morning, or whether it's people going to the middle school locally and serving, or in this case, two guys who had an idea, took the initiative, and wanted to make it reality. So I want to talk about your story, hopefully to encourage the body of Christ to be fruitful themselves, to use their gifts, and to take that initiative. And I think you're a good example of that. So let's jump into it. We're going to frame it around those 3 points, using your gifts, taking the initiative, and making it reality. So let's start here. David, let's start with you because you have a gift. That gift, according to your mother, is...
I'm going to say theater.
Okay, I was kidding. I just said your mother. I was hoping you'd say something,
Probably.
Michael, really good, like irresponsibility.
I was about to say, if it was left to her, it would be talking.
Oh, okay.
And I can talk back and get myself in trouble multiple times, but...
Yeah, but you have a gift, and one of those gifts would probably be theater. You like to do theater. You've done a lot of theater. So you had this natural gifting and ability, and you wanted to use that in the church. So let's talk a little bit about that. What caused you to take the natural gifting that you had, that you use constantly? Because you've been in so many different plays. You were Sweeney Todd most recently for somebody. You were a rock at Panola Playhouse.
Yeah.
In Fiddler on the Roof. You were what else did he do? Michael? What are his other accolades?
Well, I thought he was best as Curly McLean at
Oklahoma.
North Point, at Oklahoma.
Yeah, you really were really good at that.
Thank you.
That was
my favorite.
Yeah. I actually liked the rock at Panola Playhouse. He was just a rock. He just sat on the stage. You'd never have known it was him.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Painted him up
Missed
real
that
pretty.
one, huh?
Yeah, I missed that one.
Roll the rock out.
Yeah. I don't know what play
off.
it was, but anyway. So you've had this gift. You've been in a lot of different productions over the years, and aren't you studying theater?
Well, not anymore. I was. So I was at Northwest Mississippi Community College studying musical theater and the education behind that, but I have switched to aviation mechanics now. So I have 2 years and a associate's degree in musical theater, just have never really gone any further than that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, awesome. So you do have some training in
Yes.
it. So you're doing it, you had training in it, and then you said, I want to bring that to the church. Now, guys, tell me why you thought of the church in connection to that? Because it's not that you're not busy. It's not that you're not in dramas, right? But tell us the backstory on that.
Well, David always said to me, I would love somehow, some way to take this talent that I feel like the Lord's given me and use it to further the kingdom. And, we got to thinking, and he would think on it, and he would present something, and then, we had done the Word a couple of times and had done a Christmas drama here, and the opportunity presented itself, and he was like, well, what if, I spearheaded something at the church? I said, David, you need to go talk to Brother Mark about that. That sounds like a great idea to me. You were just telling me, how can I use my gifts to further the kingdom and do it to in a spiritual light? Not that there's anything wrong with doing it in community theater and high school theater, but it's not all focused on the glory of God. And so when he had that idea, I was like, you need to take that and run with it.
Yeah. So you approached me.
Yes.
Tell a little bit about that backstory. You came, you had this idea.
So I came to your office. Luckily, me and Michael had been talking about this for about 2 years at this point, just kind of putting ideas together. And one night I just prayed and was like, if this is your will, just let it happen in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And it kind of just landed in my lap when we weren't going to do a Christmas thing this year. And so I talked to Michael about it, and he was like, just go to Pastor Mark. So I texted you and said, let's meet, let's talk about something. And we had a rough sketch or a rough idea of what the show was going to look like. And I pitched it to you that afternoon, and you said there was one thing that stuck with me as, can you do it? And I was like, it's going to be done. If you say yes, we're going to get it done. So
yeah, because you can imagine, I was talking to you guys before we started recording, people come to us with ideas aplenty.
Yes.
That's never an issue. They say, hey, we think the church should do this. But often, not every person and every time, but very often, more often than not, when people come with ideas, that's about as far as it goes. They're not planning on doing anything about that or really making that happen. They kind of want you to take their excitement about something. And it's not that you don't want to. It's just that it's not your idea and it's not your excitement personally. And you've got enough things you're doing that they're not a part of. So you say to them, well, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Would you be willing to do that? And so in your case, when you came and you said, I want to do this for the church. Now, what I love about you coming at the time that you did, we were down a music minister. You knew that in the past we had done The Word, which was a drama of Scripture at Christmas. So the void was there. So instead of saying, man, that's such a sad thing that we don't have the Word, you said, what a great time for me to kind of insert my gift. I can do this. And yeah, I looked at you and I just said, look, I'm willing to let you do it, but you've got to promise me that you're going to follow this through to completion. Because we all know it's easy to start a race. It's hard to finish. Mm-hmm. So I said, you got to promise me no matter what, we're going to have this thing happen or sink or swim or do whatever in the whole time. Now, brother, let me ask you this. Michael, did you ever have any doubt that your brother could get it done?
Never.
Never, because you were with him.
I was with him, and we work well together in everything that we do. It doesn't matter what it is, if we're doing something in the outdoors, fishing, hunting, if we're building something for Mom. If it's this Christmas program, we work really well together. What he lacks, I'm strong in, and what I lack, he's strong in. So we make a good team. And so never from the beginning. Now, have I been frustrated a couple of times? Maybe. When I need to get a hold of him, and he's been at school.
Go ahead, get it off your
and
chest.
He's been at school, and
he's
been in a play, and he's been out of town, and I'm traveling for work, and I can't get a hold of him, and I've got 100 questions coming my way from folks around here about what's going on because I've been up here kind of, hands-on a little bit, and yeah, it's been frustrating, but never once have I had a doubt, and I know that's because the Lord's faithful.
Well, and I think that highlights and underscores a key thing about people. God makes all kinds of people different, and even in the kingdom, he gives people different spiritual gifts, right? Some people have the gift of teaching, some the gift of administration, some the gift of giving, mercy. So you made a comment to me, Michael, before we started recording. You said, he's got the talent. I'm the administration. So I'm going to be there to administer and help keep everything on track. So basically, David, he's your producer.
Yes.
in all of life. So if you could just get money to hire him, he can produce the rest of your life.
There you go.
What do you think about that? That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's
You
great.
can direct, he can produce.
Well, he's creative, and I'm organizational. We'll put it that
Yeah.
way. So when he has a creative idea, I can organize it and kind of make it happen, I guess. And I don't mean that arrogantly, but
Yeah,
it just
well, that's what a good producer in movies or drama, you have your director who focuses on the show,
Yeah.
the creative aspect of the show, but the producer is the person that's crunching the numbers,
Making
making it happen. This is what you can spend. This is what we're going to do here. So, yeah, it's neat how God puts the two of you together, director, producer. Here you are. You're using those gifts, and you wanted to use it in the church. So let's talk about that for a moment. One of the key things you talked to me about when we started this is you said we really want to make this gospel-centered. We don't want to just do a Christmas play. We want to share the gospel and use it. Let's talk about how this upcoming Christmas drama that you guys are working on right now. And we're going to get to that in more detail. But you came with this idea with an overarching purpose. We want this to be gospel-centered. So talk about how that was on your heart.
Christmas time is a special time for a lot of people. You know it, I know it, our church members know it, and probably a lot of folks in the community who are churched and unchurched know it. There's a large chunk of our community that will only come through our doors when it's Christmas and Easter. And so, you know, in our minds and in my mind, I guess, and I'm not going to speak to David, he can talk in a minute, but you use an opportunity like that when people are so susceptible to come through the doors. What can we do to get people through our doors to be able to present the message of the gospel and the love of Christ to them in a fresh way and in a way that is correct and biblically correct? And so that's kind of been the driving factor. You know, how do we get people in the door? Not because we want a full worship center. That's not what it's about. That's not what I want it to be about. But you want as many people as possible to hear the message that's going to be presented. And yeah, we're going to have some fun Christmas stuff. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, it's going to start from the very beginning of the Christmas story when Gabriel spoke to Mary, and it's going to end with the second coming of Christ. And it's going to present the gospel through powerful message, through powerful music. And, you know, our hope and my prayer is specifically that there will be people who are unchurched, who have never heard the gospel, come in and hear the unashamed gospel of Christ presented through the Christmas story in the way that we know it can.
So that makes the gifting even better. As you share your gift, you want to share the gospel, and you want to use that in the life of the church. Well, let's go to number 2, initiative. And let me point out, because I think as you were talking, Michael, I didn't even say this at the beginning. I mean, you guys, I didn't introduce you, but you guys are brothers. You're church members. You've grown up at this church since you were born. So you've been here all your life. And David, you mentioned you're studying aviation mechanics. And Michael, you're working at Delta State University as a sportscaster. Mm-hmm. Is that what they call you, a sportscaster, or is it a sports announcer?
Either or. I would prefer caster or broadcaster.
Okay, so you broadcast for the Fighting Okra. Mm-hmm. Yes. Do they fight?
Unofficially the Fighting Okra. My athletic director won't allow me to call us the Fighting Okra officially. We're the Statesmen. Oh. So let me go ahead and insert that just so I don't get fired. But
okay.
We are the Statesmen, but we're unofficially the Fighting Okra, yes.
Okay. Did Ole Miss ever go back to officially being the Rebels, or
they never stopped being the Rebels? Let me put that on the record.
My gosh.
Okay. Well, it was
don't
like
get
the
him
Sharks
started on that.
and the Bears and the Admiral Akbars. And it was like, where are we?
We were the Rebel Sharks.
All right. Well, is that over with?
I think so. I think they've gone away from that on-field lizard-looking shark they had, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We got to figure that out before this podcast is over. Well, so you guys are lay men in the church. You have jobs. You do different things. David, you work with North Point with your mom with the productions over there. Right now, you're doing Wonka Willie. It's going to be exciting. My daughter's in that. But you guys are doing other things. So you come and you say, hey, I want to do this show, and you take the initiative. So let's talk about that, just you being lay guys, working, doing other things, being young. And that's also what's so exciting about this. You're young men, and you're using your energy for a good thing. So a lot of people, when they come to the church and they have ideas, there's really no initiative maybe behind it. They say, hey, we should do this. And I'm like, okay, well, can you lead that? Can you lead us? Can you make that happen? We'll support you in any way, but, we'll supply you and equip you. But somebody will have to take the lead on that. You guys have done that. So tell me a little bit about the initiative that you've learned through this and what you're having to do and what it involves.
Well, I will say at the beginning of this, we had lost our worship minister, and with that, our choir director.
Yes,
and
it was tragic accident.
So I, of course, talked to Michael.
I'm just kidding, Brandon. You're still alive, and we love you.
I was talking to Michael and didn't want to lose the choir, so to speak. That's something that's dying in churches that I don't agree with. I think it's great to have a choir. I love the background vocals, so I was talking to him about it. And we got with Justin and Christy up here, and we just pretty much all four sat down and said, what's the first steps? What do we need to do to get the church on board? So we had our big interest meeting almost 2 weeks after I met with you and we got the green light. We had our big interest meeting. We got everybody on board with it. We told everybody about it. Everybody started getting excited right off the bat. And then from there, we started choir practices. Like right off the bat. A week after that, we had started choir practice. And that was in August. We had been practicing since August and working our way through now. But so basically what I'm trying to say is we just had to just sit down and say, what's our first steps as members to get the church on board? And we had Justin helped us greatly with that. So,
in terms of initiative for me personally, I guess I would say in Brandon's absence, I miss him still. I think a lot of people do.
God rest his soul.
We miss Brandon, and that's for sure. But in a time of transition, in a time of interim, in a time of uncertainty, for me, it was like, okay, what can we do to help ease some of those concerns, to help smooth this transition out? What can we do? Is it something we can do to get our church on board, our worship ministry on board, our choir on board? Well, this seemed perfect, right? It was right about the time we needed to be starting and starting the ball rolling. Brandon stepped away. David approached you. We got the green light. That's whatever. But, I have a big heart for the worship ministry. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to our family. And in order just to be able to step in a time where there was some uncertainty in our worship ministry, it's just been a huge encouragement to me. I hope it's been a huge encouragement to the life of our church and our worship ministry as well. So it was really special for me, just I guess in that time of transition and maybe a little uncertainty, to be able to spearhead something and help orchestrate something that has incorporated a large part of the worship ministry and is really worship ministry driven.
That's what I loved about it. You saw a need. And you saw a gap and said, we can help in this moment. And the Lord used that. You were worried people would not support you because you kept saying to me, we hope the church gets behind it. And I would say to you, I think that's not going to be an issue. I think you're going to excite people by putting this together, taking the initiative and working. I think people were going to get behind this because, like you pointed out, Michael, Brandon had left and people were kind of saying, well, I guess we're not going to do anything this year. I guess we're not going to have anything. So it was just so encouraging. And that's that part of the A to F that we really want more members to embrace. Many do already, but we encourage more to embrace. Take initiative, right? Use your gifts. That's the whole point of this. And these are really good examples of doing that. And you bless the church when you do it. And of course there were always stipulations and concerns, right? So I'm always careful because doing a podcast like this, not only do people have ideas, sometimes their ideas we just can't do. It's like, no, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. That's illegal, for us to take that business transaction, or we can't funnel your business through our church or whatever. You name it, we've kind of been asked it before and experienced it. And so you get a lot of things like that. But the good news is, there were challenges, but this was doable
Yeah.
And it was God glorifying, and it had a gospel center, and you took that initiative to do it. All right, let's talk now, because we've kind of waited until the end to reveal. So we are going to have a Christmas production, and we want to talk about this. So let's talk about making it a reality. This is our third point. You guys have made it a reality, and tonight, not to date our podcast, we are having, by the time this airs tonight, we'll have been long gone and over with, but you're having an all-cast call. You guys are working today on the stage and putting up the sets and the decorations. And it's funny because today, when we're recording this, it's my 20th wedding anniversary. And I walked in there today and said, 20 years ago, right now on this stage, Amanda and I were getting married. And now it's all of you guys standing right in front of me here on the stage, putting up these sets. But everybody's engaged. People are using their gifts building. They're using their gifts cooking. They're using their gifts painting, putting costumes together, acting, singing, you name it. There's all kinds of room for a lot of people. And this does unite the church together. It gives us all kind of one common thing to do at Christmas and share the gospel, and that's not a bad thing at all. So let's talk about making it a reality. So tell us what we're going to be doing in December of 2024 and how you guys are going to bring that to light at the church and what you hope to accomplish.
Well, basically, this is a combination between a Broadway musical and a church choir cantata. It's what I've been explaining to people. It's a choir concert with acting and a light show. It's going to be really nice. We're going to have animals and smoke effects and just things to drive the story. But essentially, it is the Christmas story being unfolded on stage as a family is reading it, and it is it'll be a pretty cool story and a pretty cool event. So it's just taking a lot of work, but we're here. So
when does the Death Star explode?
We wrote that out.
Yeah,
we wrote that out. That didn't make the final cut. Sorry, I had
darn.
to veto that one.
Note to play people. Please include Death Star.
That effect was out of our budget, so.
Gotcha. Okay.
So David talked about kind of what you can expect with the production. I touched on it a little bit earlier about how, it kind of covers the entire life of Jesus from the time of conception until his second return, which we're waiting on here as we sit right now. And if, that sky cracked open right now, I wouldn't complain that we didn't get to put our production on. So, but we're going to cover all that, right? But in my heart and my vision, and I think it's a lot of David's vision too, as we've talked about it and prayed about it, what can you do in a church that, you have church members that don't know each other rubbing elbows? How can you grow the church? How can you promote unity? How can you share the gospel to people in the church that might need it? But how can you share the gospel to people in the community who we know need it? And how can you get people that wouldn't necessarily come through the doors, and how can you do that all in one event? Well, we think this is the perfect way to do that. You've got around 150 church members who are sacrificing time and using their gifts up here at different times, working together. I've seen personally, and I've experienced personally, working alongside somebody, that I don't know very well. And you get to talk to them and get to learn about their life and learn their story throughout this whole thing. And because of that, you build relationships and you get closer. And through all of that, as you're using your gifts, getting to know people, you're promoting church unity. Well, we're all using our gifts ultimately for the glory of God. If one person comes through the door and gets saved, that's awesome. That's why we've done this. But my heart and my purpose through everything I've done from the start has been to ultimately glorify God. And so I feel like I've been obedient, and I've stressed. I'm not going to lie to you. I've stressed over some of it because a lot of times we leave a practice, I thought, man, that was not very good. What are we going to do, David? That wasn't very good. And David says, well, you just need to relax. It'll all come together. And ultimately I lay my head down on the pillow at night when I'm struggling to sleep, and I say, you know what? I've been obedient. I know the Lord's faithful. I've experienced that in other areas of my life. So why wouldn't he be here? We put all that together, and hopefully the final product on Friday night, December the 13th through the 15th, when we do this 4 times, is glorifying to God. And if that's all it does, I'm happy and mission accomplished.
Very good. wait, Friday the 13th?
Yeah,
is
don't
what it
look.
starts.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about that.
Right. Jason takes the
It's
Christmas
an accident
tree.
waiting to happen.
Yeah.
It's a good thing our God's more powerful than all
I'm
of
just
that,
kidding.
right?
Couldn't resist. I started thinking of a
Good answer.
whole script you could write.
Mm-hmm.
Kids go to camp. Yeah. Anyway, so you guys, your age, really quick, because a listener who says, I don't know who these guys are. Michael, you're what?
26.
And you're 20.
I'm 20.
20.
Just 20.
So young guys, brothers who said, let's make this a reality. That's what I love about this, using your gifts. I keep saying it. But, guys, seriously, this wouldn't have been anything the pastors could have pulled off. Number one, we don't have the gifting. We don't have the desire or the time or, all that. But here you did, and you're young guys, and you're like, well, we're just not going to sit around. So you come to me, and I go to the pastors, and I said, well, what do you guys think about this? You think this is crazy, or do you think we should let them do it? And everybody said, well, if they're willing to use their gifts and their talents, and they're going to glorify God, and they promise that they'll carry it through, I mean, why wouldn't we let them do it? So here we are. So I'm excited.
Well, before we wrap up, this is a little off script, but I'm going to do it anyway. I want to give a huge special thanks to everybody that's helped us along the way that may be listening to this. I don't want anybody to think this is just me and David. It has taken a village. There has been a lot of people that helped. And I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to leave any one person out, because I know I will, and I know somebody will get their feelings hurt, and that's never my intention. But we've had a lot of great help from inside this office to other lay members of the church, just really sacrificing their time, their resources, money, any way that anybody's helped. I appreciate from the bottom of my heart everybody who has helped to make this a reality, and we're right here on the precipice, and I'm super excited.
Yeah. So give us a quick synopsis. I know you said it's going to glorify God, it's going to be a light show, a drama, but in all seriousness, what's kind of the premise?
Don't give away too much, but talk a little bit about it. We want people to get their tickets and come, so we're not going to give any spoiler alerts here.
Long story short, it is a family who is going through a rough patch in life.
Crisis.
A crisis in life. Finds a passage in the Bible, holds true to it, and it brings them back and roots them back in Christ and what a family should be. So,
okay. Now, you mentioned tickets. That gives the impression that it costs to go to this.
It costs nothing. This is completely free to the community.
We use the ticket term because there are tickets, and that's only to help us. The last thing we want to have happen is 1,000 people show up, and we had no clue that many people were going to show up, and all of a sudden we don't have room for them, and we have to turn people away. So we do have on our website, broadwaychurch.org/Christmas, you can go and claim your seats. It is 100% free, no charge. Claim your seats and join us that weekend, because it is going to be it's going to be a good weekend. I think God's going to do big things.
Just the one weekend, 13th, 14th.
Yep.
And
And
15th.
So
we have 4
one,
performances.
Yeah, one on Friday night, one on Saturday night, two on Sunday,
That's right.
afternoon and night.
That's right.
Wow, super neat, super exciting. Are you going to be exhausted when you're doing Willy Wonka and that's over, and then this is over? And
Shoot, exhaustion is an understatement, but it's worth it.
You're
So,
young, though. Just wait till you're 50, and you'll be like, I can't do that anymore. Can't do that
It's
anymore.
all
Do
worth
it while
it.
you can. Do it while you're young. That's great. Well, guys, anything else about the production that you would want people to know?
Not that I know of. I hope you'll embrace it and come see us. A lot of people have put in a lot of hard work, and if you haven't had a part in it, your part can be, whether you're a church member or whether you're listening and you're not a church member, your part can be get your tickets, bring a friend, and come support these folks who have poured their heart into this, because it's not a small undertaking. There's been a lot of hours and a lot of work and a lot of late nights, and there's going to be a few more over the next couple of weeks. Again, I know we're not trying to date it, but that's the reality of it. But it's all it all comes, at least I can speak for myself, it comes from a good place in my heart, and it's my prayer that it's the same for the rest of our church. And I think I think the Lord's going to honor it because of that.
All right, awesome. Well, we're looking forward to the performance, and if you're listening to this and it hasn't happened yet, get your tickets. If it has happened, get you a time machine, go back in time, get you the tickets, and watch the Ghostbusters as they're on stage live, knocking out the ghost of Friday the 13th. All right, guys? Now that's something I'd pay to see. And for footnotes, we're out.